Did you notice that this gentleman, not just a guy up here with words coming out of his mouth, he became the instrument itself for the divine. And your accompanist, your music director, does amazing work too. You're very blessed. Very blessed. 40 years ago, I could sing like that. Not that big, man. It's got a big voice. So, how are you breathing? That's the first question I want to ask, and I'll ask that question a lot to you. How are you breathing? Besides in and out. See, I love mindfulness, and you'll be hearing a lot about that today. I'll be back in January to talk to you again about mindfulness as well, in a different aspect. But if you think about this, the very first thing you did when you got to the planet was to breathe in. And the very last thing you'll do when you leave the planet was to breathe out. And both of those are gifts in and of themselves, but it's the countless breaths that we breathe in and out between those two moments that matter. And most of the time, we're so unconscious of the gift of breath, of life itself, that it passes right by. So take another deep breath. Say, thank you, God, for the gift in this moment. It's what tethers your soul to the present. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you this morning about the essence of one of my books, The Art of Being, 101 Ways to Practice Purpose in Your Life. And by the way, one of the reasons this book has been so well received is that there are mindfulness practices, as with all my books, at the end of each chapter that help you kind of conceptualize and internalize the ideas that are brought to you in that chapter and apply them in real time in your life today. One of my teachers used to say, realization without application is hallucination. Right? We can have divine ahas and awarenesses all day long, but if we don't know how to apply them in the present moment, they're for naught. Yeah? Did you witness? Okay. So, the art of being, 101 ways to practice purpose in your life. The operative statement there is purpose in your life. Okay? And I could condense the whole book into a Reader's Digest version of The Creation Story by Dennis Merritt Jones. You ready for it? It comes very quickly, so you have to listen. Okay? You ready? Here it is. In the beginning, there was only God. Still is. The end. Thank you. I know that's corny, but some people say, can you take that a little deeper? So yeah, here it is. In the beginning there was only God, and God so fully desired to know itself, to experience itself, to express itself, means to push out, to express itself. The only way that it could do it is to think itself into form, breathe the breath of life into that form, and occupy that form and become that form. That would be you. Me. Yeah? And a good analogy is this. Imagine in the great ethers of the beyond, the essence of God creating form, takes little globlets of itself, and puts these little globlets of itself out in front of itself and saying, these are soul beings. Saying, soul beings, I'm going to send you on a mission. Your mission, should you decide to accept, and you will because you're here, see that little planet way down there in that corner of the galaxy? It's called Earth, planet Earth. Your purpose is to go there and be me. Now, I won't send you without being properly equipped. So I'm going to give you two tools that you can use. The first is called a physical body, a human body. You'll occupy it for a certain length of time. Don't become too attached to it, because all it is a biodegradable, carbon-based, disposable vessel which you will eject at the proper time and return to the ethers from which you went. Right? And the second gift you're going to be given, tool you're going to be given, is a personality, by means of which you'll create interesting learning dynamics about how to be me in physical form. Okay? And the last thing, and God says, go. And the last thing we hear before we go into the light, God leans forward and she whispers in our ear, by the way, when you get there, you'll forget all about this conversation. Yeah, and breathe, right. So here we are, sitting in this room right now. However many years you've been on this planet, something called you to be in this room at this time in this spiritual community because there's something stirring within you, knowing that there's more for you to go be and do on this planet, and that's called your purpose. Can I get a witness? Okay, so you're here not by mistake. You're here by consciousness. Okay? Something within you knew there was more for you to know, be, and do. And that's why you're here. And I know this, that when we pay attention to that stirring, and it reminds us that we're here on purpose, when we are awake and aware that we are on purpose, I know the universe conspires to support living things that are on purpose in achieving their purpose. To create a life worth living. Purpose at the center of that. A life. What did Socrates say about a life worth living? Anybody? Any philosophers in here? Socrates says the unexamined life is not worth living. What do you think he meant by that? I'm a great proponent of self-inquiry. The ability to imagine how amazing it is that you can think a thought and then look at the thought you're thinking about and observe it. It's pretty profound. But self-inquiry is the process of being able to ask yourself questions and learn and grow from the questions you ask. And every avatar, every teacher from the beginning of time, recorded time, has brought forward the 4 questions to ask in order for us to go deeper into a sense of who we are and why we are. And the 4 questions are this, and I know you know them. The first is, who am I? The second question is, where did I come from? The third question is, and this is where some of us get stuck in the muck, what am I doing here? And the fourth question is, where am I going to go when I leave here? Have you ever thought about any of those 4 questions? 1 or 2 of you, yeah? Well, if we started out on a basic premise that in the beginning there's only God and that's still the truth, God is all there is, yeah? Okay, if that's the case, what's the answer to all 4 of those questions? I came from God. I am the divine essence of it in expression. And when I leave here, I'm going to just go back to the ethers of what it is, divine soup. Okay? In other words, you couldn't be any more spiritual if you tried. You couldn't be. Spirituality, you're 100% spirit. Yeah? Spirituality is simply the practicing of the awareness of the presence of God in the holy moment, in the instant, in the present. That's what spirituality is. Okay? And so the reality is when we walk awakened, meaning when we are fully conscious and aware that of our oneness with the divine and that we are not just going through it, we are it, we realize that we are on a journey to a place we never left. The awakening to our oneness with the divine. How are you breathing? Take a nice deep breath. Stay with me. Now that's a heavy thought. Okay? But in other words, you couldn't be any more spiritual if you tried. But don't we make an effort sometimes? Don't we get caught up in the muck and the mire? And sometimes it's so easy to go unconscious and to forget how that it's when you're at the top of the mountain peak, it's easy to remember green lights, blue skies, and all that good stuff, right? But when you're in the valleys, between the peaks, sometimes it's easy to go a little unconscious and forget about how divine your life is. Because whatever is causes us to be stuck in the valley is calling us, it's seducing us out of the awareness of the presence of the divine. Have you ever seen an EKG monitor in a hospital where they hook you up and it goes beep, 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 beep? What does that mean? It's a good sign, right? It's a really good sign. It means you're alive, right? What does this mean? Not a good sign. Point in fact, we need this and this in order to be alive. The trouble is we get stuck in the valleys and we go unconscious and we pitch a tent and we begin to build an identity around the darkness and we're caught up in the present moment and we forget about the divine nature we came here to be. And so when we awaken, we remember, there's another peak ahead. And so I'm going to move through the valley. My dear friend Dr. Tom Costa used to have a great saying. He'd say, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have to build a condo there." But that's what we do. We hunker down in the valley of the dark places in our lives, and we go unconscious, and we forget about what a gift life is. And there's no less. Is there any less God in the valley than the mountaintop? Shake your head like this. No. And so it's about remembering to remember to remember. Okay, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Okay. So there's a great story about remembering to remember, irrespective of, and we overcomplicate it. Have you ever tried to have a spiritual experience? I'm going to meditate. Today I'm going to be more spiritual. There was a master teacher walking through the woods one day, and he hears this commotion. So he walks up, and there's a student sitting on the riverbank, and the student on the riverbank is chanting as loud as he can, "I am one with God, I am one with God, I am one with God." He was trying to have that divine realization of his oneness with God. And the master teacher walks up behind him and sits down next to him. He takes his begging bowl in one hand and his walking stick in the other hand. And he begins to chant very quietly, "This is my bowl. This is my stick. This is my bowl. This is my stick. This is my bowl. This is my stick." Meanwhile, the students, "I am one with God. I am one with God. I am one with God." The master continues, "This is my bowl. This is my stick." Pretty soon, the student stops. He looks at the master teacher and says, "All right, already. Any fool can see that's your stick and that's your bowl. Can't you see I'm trying to have a spiritual experience here, my oneness with God?" And what does the master teacher say? Any fool can see you already are having a spiritual experience. Why are you trying so hard to be that which you are? And look how hard we try sometimes. And all you got to do is take a breath, irrespective of where you are or what's going on, and say, "God is, I am." Have you ever noticed in the first 20, 30 years of our lives we were taught how to do really well? Do. From the day we were born, we go to school, we get an education, we get married, we get the house, we get the car, we get the job. Do. Our lives are full of a lot of do. Right? But we were never taught how to be. That's why in your first service you had your junior church kids in here. What a precious gift that is. Could you imagine how your life might be today if you were taught these principles when you were 2, 3, 5, 6 years old? Right? So learning how to incorporate here's being, here's doing. Right? Learning how to incorporate our being nature into our doing is the practice of a lifetime. It's called mindfulness. To be present in the moment, wherever you are, whatever's going on, God is, I am. That's the art of being on purpose. I've developed 3 questions that I ask, and they're in the book, but I'm going to give them to you in short form this morning. You can ask yourself on a daily basis to see how well you're doing at being. You ready? Here's the first one. It moves kind of quick, so listen. The first question you have to ask yourself on a daily basis, and this is part of the self-inquiry practice, am I having fun? Can I get a witness for fun? How much time do we take to consciously have fun on a daily basis? Probably very little. Question, where are you when you're having fun? Where are you? I was doing a talk in Hawaii years ago, and I asked that question at a big center. I said, "Where are you when you're having fun?" And the guy in the back room says, "We're at the beach, dude." Yeah, but that's where you are in space, but where are you in time? In the present. Thank you, God, thank you, somebody got it. Yeah, you're in the present moment, right? You can't be any place but in the present moment when you're having fun. What is the essence, the energy that flows through you that kind of bubbles up? It's the J word. Joy. It's self-evident that in the moment, joy is one of the highest vibrations of the divine above and beyond, or equal to unconditional love. Joy. It brings you to the sense of oneness with life, with the divine. Joy. But you notice that in order for you to experience that, your mind has to be in your body, not someplace else. Oftentimes, where is our mind always ending up in the future or the past, right? You notice your body is always present tense. Can't be anyplace else, right? Your body is always in the physical present moment, but not your mind. To illustrate this point about having fun, I was on a flight from Burbank, California to Las Vegas to present a seminar there. And we just arrived over Las Vegas, and the pilot comes on the intercom. It's a true story. It's actually in the book. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're arriving over Las Vegas. The problem is we're going to be encountering high desert winds, so they've shut down all the runways, and they're going to let us in one at a time, so we're going to need to circle around here until they can get us in. So please fasten your seat belts and hold on because it's going to get bumpy." And no sooner did he say that, and the plane started doing this. Boop, boom, and it hit those air pockets. Woo, boom. Have you been in one of those? Yeah. Those air pockets, it goes up and down. Well, it didn't happen just once or twice. It went on and on for a number of minutes. And pretty soon, the plane felt desperately quiet, and the inevitable happened. Somebody they fully utilized their air sickness container device. Right. And upon doing that only inspired a few others to be equally expressive in their discontentment with the situation. Pretty soon, the plane became a very uncomfortable place to be, right? Kept going. A couple minutes later, from the front of the cabin, I hear this, the plane does this big bounce, and I hear this, whee! I think to myself, what fool doesn't know this isn't fun? A couple minutes later, up and up, and another, whee! I look up to the front, and there's this young woman holding a toddler on her lap. And every time the plane would rise or fall, he'd throw his arms in the air and go, whee! Do that with me, come on. Whee! One more time, you're at the top of the roller coaster. Here we go. Whee! Question. Where are you right now? You're in the present, aren't you? You're not thinking about what you're going to have for lunch or what the doctor said last week. You're present. Your mind is in your body in the moment, taking the gift of life into consideration and enjoying it. Enjoying it. Breathe. Doesn't matter where you are in the present moment, you can make space to experience the joy of God's presence, even when you're in the battle. 3 of you, okay, good. Second question you can ask yourself on a daily basis is this: am I growing every day? This is really important about fulfilling purpose. What do living things do? They grow. What are things that are living that don't grow do? They begin to slowly wither up and die. Ernest Holmes refers to this principle of the life force that permeates every living thing. He calls it the creative divine urge. And he says it permeates every living thing. If it could speak, it would say, I've got to be more today than I was yesterday. It pushes out through all living things, wanting to expand that form of life into something greater. Look at your fingernails. Look at your hair. Look at the beautiful trees, everything in nature, everything that has an animated life force. Life is this energy is pushing out and becoming more. Becoming more. He referred to the polar or the complement of the creative urge was the universal imperative. Take a deep breath. Here's the universal imperative. Grow or die. In other words, if you're not growing, you're slowly dying. And this is not just, I'm talking about your physical body. Anything it occupies has life force occupying it. Your relationships. If your relationships are not growing, if they're not pushing out, if they're not evolving, they're slowly withering up. Right? Your career, the same thing. If you're not growing in your career, you're slowly, you know when the life force decides to vacate a relationship or a career because there's no more growth, there's no more passion. Your spiritual community, another great example. If it doesn't grow, if it doesn't continue to push out and grow, it slowly, life force rescinds and collapses on itself. Universal imperative, grow or die. And if you think you can grow or create anything new from within the field of what you already know, and that's the premise of my book, The Art of Uncertainty, if you think you can grow from within the field of what you already know, you're sadly mistaken. Because all you're going to do is create another version of what you already know. You have to be willing to come to the edge and step out of the box into the unknown, which is where life is waiting for you to show up and say, I'm ready to grow. Yeah? Here, a great metaphor. I love metaphors. Have you ever seen a potted plant that was root bound? What's going on with that potted plant that's root bound? It can't grow, right? Because the roots are, so the roots turn in on itself and slowly begins to what? Choke off the life force in the plant, right? But what happens the minute you take that root-bound potted plant and you put it into a larger pot, or better yet, just the open ground? What happens? The roots turn out again, and the life force surges through that plant because it has again found its purpose to be a plant. Take a breath. I love metaphor. Here it is, folks. Some of us need to be repotted. It could be in our relationships. It could be in our careers. It could be in our spiritual growth. You know, there's a number of places where, if you look at your life where you're stunted, where you're stuck in the muck, you need to take a look at how you can honor your purpose and get back into the flow of growth. There's so many different ways you can do it. I won't go into that now. A lot of times, what happens is we stunt our growth because of the labels that we wear. We think that we're stuck with these labels, whatever the labels are that you grew up with, male, female, tall, short, fat, ugly, smart, dumb, rich, poor, all the labels. Those, we grow to the edge of those labels and we think that's the truth of who we are. And we don't go any further. And so, and that's another one of my books, Your Redefining Moments. You have to learn how to peel off the labels and ask, who would I be without these labels? If you peel off enough labels, you get down to the core of the essence of who you are. What's the answer? Hello? And does God have any boundaries? The boundaries that keep us stuck are the ones we create for ourselves, or we allow others to impose upon us. How are you breathing? Last question. I know I'm going long. The last question is real easy. Am I taking time every day to serve others? Am I lifting others? Am I taking time to get out of myself and give the gift of who I am to others? And you know, that doesn't have to be big things. You don't have to go out and invent a disease, a cure for a big disease. All you got to do is be conscious and present enough in the moment to be present with whoever you're with, and you'll discover that right in front of you is your purpose in the moment. That is to be that place where the person that's in front of you gets a chance to see a deeper, greater part of themselves, if you choose to see it. You're standing in the grocery store line and the person behind you is grousing, they're having a bad day. All you have to do is turn to that person and breathe and look in their eyes and say something affirmative, something kind. And not only could possibly change their day, you might change their life just by witnessing them, experiencing them, serving them by acknowledging their presence on the planet. And you know what happens? What's cool is that there's so many ways we can learn how to serve, especially in a community like this. You got all kinds of opportunities to serve. You can serve others by opening a door, going into the market. You can serve some people by choosing to drive past that premium parking spot at the front door of the mall and give that parking spot to somebody else. That's serving others, you know. And here's the cool thing. When we decide to spiritualize, that means remember the presence of God in the moment. When we spiritualize our serving others, it becomes sacred. In the East, it would be called seva, selfless service, dedicated to God. And when we are conscious and present enough in the moment to be that silent witness of the divine, somebody said, God's a real prankster. He does it all with mirrors. We know there's only one of us here. Yeah? But there appears to be so many of us, right? But what if we could be so aware, so conscious and present, that every person that we encounter, we realize, here is a mirror of the one. And may I use you as my mirror? Thank you. So if I'm able to peel off all the labels that I put on you and everybody else put on you and look into you, not at you, and I look into you, and I ask the question, who's in there? Oh, that's some aspect of me. That's some aspect of the divine. And if I have that awareness, how could I ever abuse you or be prejudiced against you or harm you or limit you? another. That's sacred service, to see the potential of the divine in every human being. Thank you. Namaste. So there it is, the 3 questions you can ask yourself on a daily basis. Am I having fun? Am I growing? And am I serving others? And if you can do that consciously, mindfully, you will understand that you are the one, literally, you're the one who brings the essence of the gift. Oh, a better way to say it. When you knock on heaven's door, you're going to be asked 2 questions. Of course, heaven and hell are what? States of mind, right? You're going to be asked 2 questions. The first question is, and these are questions that we have to be able to answer in our soul before we're going to be able to unfold who we are to the next level of who we are and why we are. First question is, did you love well? Did you love well? And the second question unfolds from the first question. Is the planet a better place today than it was the day you got there? Because you were there. And if you can answer yes to those questions, you will know that you literally have been the one who has stepped through that portal of being, purpose. You have been the one who has brought heaven to earth. That's living a life of purpose. That is why you have come. Enjoy the journey. It's amazing. Thank you for letting me have time with you this morning. Know you're loved. Thank you.